All right, Shalom, Shalom. We again are the Doctrine of Life Israelites coming again to give another live lesson. And we want to begin how we always do, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah by Hashem Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the Most High and his only begotten Son. Again, Shalom. Shalom, brothers. How brothers doing?
Shalom. All good. And yourself?
Khan, I'm well, brother. All praise to the Most High. Brothers can hear me well. Everything sound good?
Yes, sir.
Khan, all praise to the Most High. Well, again, like brother said, we got another live lesson. Brothers kind of tapped in to a lot of pastors that were addressing either some of the what you call YNs of the black community or black culture or the black community in general. So brothers did, hopefully, Most High willing, an edifying lesson going into some of the history, some of the foundations that really go into addressing the community. And us brothers wanted to pick back up there slightly, kind of wrapping up some of the end off, getting into more recent events. I think brothers in the chat mentioned things like Cont'd Pro, some of the recent legislations and some of the recent, should I say, programs that have been instituted by many of our oppressors and enemies to help create what they would call black culture. So Most High willing, brothers is going to tap into that very briefly, and then we were going to get into some of the videos that you can see in the thumbnail. Brothers titled this one, if I believe right, it was Hebrew Israelites Address Black Culture. And we also go over some of Satan's devices. So again, brothers also got some videos that Most High willing we'll be able to share with you all. And you can take a listen to see what's going on in the world culturally. And then we can, of course, bring the scriptures, get the thus saith the Most High. And like we said, Most High willing, get some edifying done. As we always do, in Shalom, just thinking. And Shalom, sister Yamina. Shalom, sister. Shalom, everybody that's tuning in and that will tune in, Most High willing. As we always say, when you do come in the chat, if you could please just drop a like. Of course, that helps to put the video out there and spread the content to other people who may be edified by it as well. So if you could please, when you come in, just like the video. Again, Shalom. We always like to do this. If anybody has any questions or precepts that you want to add to the conversation, then definitely throw that in the chat, and Most High willing, we'll be able to get to that. But again, we like to give about 5 minutes just to give a little bit of time for the room to get filled in. We already about 3 to 4 minutes. So brother's going to be picking up pretty soon. We always do this. So we're going to start it again with an opening precept. Just going over how brothers try to move when we go into these lessons. As we always say, this topic can't be stressed more, it can't be stressed enough how important that it is that whoever it is that you learn from, whoever it is that you gather with, that they also embody this spirit. So again, we're going to get that classic verse. If a brother can read that one, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 17.
2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 17. For we are not as many which corrupt the word of God, but as of sincerity, but as of God, in the sight of God, speak we in Christ.
And us brothers bring that out. As we say so often, we like to hold that as a pillar to our camp. Brothers don't profess to be the wisest men. Brothers don't profess to be the mightiest men. Brothers don't profess to be anything really. But what brothers do hope and try to have as a pillar of what we do is be those who don't corrupt the word of the Most High, and be those that come in the spirit of sincerity, as if we do this in the sight of the Most High and we speak in his only begotten Son. So again, that's just a nice verse that us brothers like to hold as a pillar to the camp. I see you came in, brother Shalom, brother Jeff Berry. Shalom to all of the people that do tune in. All praise to the Most High. Most High willing, we have an edifying one for brothers and sisters coming up. But again, I said we was going to wait about 5 minutes. I think we there. Yep, we coming in at about 5 minutes. So, brothers going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to open this one up, Most High willing, with an opening precept. I'm going to go to the book of Mark, chapter 4. And we're going to pick up, if a brother can, at verse 22. The book of Mark, chapter 4, and verse 22 to 23.
The book of Mark, chapter 4, verse 22. For there is nothing hid which shall be manifested, neither was anything kept secret, but that it shall come abroad. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear.
If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. So we all know that when Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, when Yahweh Shai says that, that tends to mean that this is not necessarily an easy saying. Not everybody is going to be able to receive that. But there is nothing hid which shall not be manifested. Neither was anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad. So again, the fact that so much knowledge and wisdom is going out in these last days, all praises to the Most High, because we are able to gather of these grapes, rightly divide the word. Matter of fact, I just want to pull that one out. Matter of fact, man, I got to pull two out because this one kind of goes into the same point, and then we're going to get started. Can we get Daniel chapter 12, brother, in verse 4?
You can blow it up just okay. Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
And knowledge shall be increased. And Most High willing, that's what we're able to do. But there's something we have to be careful with when it comes to knowledge. And Most High willing, I believe this lesson is even going to touch into that. But the scriptures already prophesied to us that in the last days, that knowledge would be increased, that men would go to and fro in the earth. So again, we understand that knowledge is going to be increased, but there's a danger that comes with that as well. And we got to get this classic. And that's the reason why us brothers also bring out that 2 Corinthians 2:17 about why it's so important to make sure that you yourself and the people that you listen to and gather with also are concerned with speaking, thus saith the Most High, not corrupting the word of the Most High. All right, I'm gonna get this one. What did I say, brother? That was Daniel chapter 12. Let me get 1 Thessalonians 5:21. So as we said, it's obviously been prophesied that in the last days, knowledge will be increased. So you can't be afraid of the fact that there's knowledge out there. But spoiler alert, surprise, there's a lot of lies out there as well. There's a lot of false knowledge. There's a lot of false information. How do we battle against that? Let's get the classic, brother. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. Prove all things.
No, brother, just believe what I hear.
Prove all things. Hold fast that which is good.
And you hold fast to that which is good. So even though that we know that knowledge is increasing in 2025, we live in what they call the information age, or the age of technology, or should we call it the age of spin, the age of deception, whatever you want to call it. It's mighty to apply wisdom like this, that we prove all things and we hold fast to the things that are good. Because like the scriptures say, there is a foolish man who believes every word, but that prudent man is going to take heed to what he hears and his movements as well. So again, us brothers just wanted to segue into that quick introduction, going into how important it is to vet not only us, but the information that you receive, no matter where you gather it from. Of course, not going into these scriptures, which that's why our brothers definitely try to give you the information and the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding coming out of the scriptures. But with all knowledge that's received, it's mighty to apply wisdom like that. So again, us brothers are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to play our first video that I wanted us to be able to take a look at, okay? Like I said, when brothers was doing this lesson, we picked up at some of the pastors that were addressing many of our young brothers and sisters in our community and calling them different things about how worse off they are, how they're the worst people on the face of the earth, criminals, delinquents. If you watch the video, or should I say, if you didn't watch the video, Most High willing, you can go and check that video out and then watch this one as well and see how brothers are segueing into this lesson right here. But again, brothers covered essentially all the way from about to the so-called African-American entered into the country all the way up until about the year 1950. So us brothers wanted to get ready to get something. Matter of fact, before we get there, I Googled a question because one of the things that we seen in that video is the pastors, whether they were Caucasians or whether they were so-called African-Americans, were addressing the crime and were addressing the so-called delinquency of some of our young people. Okay, so what I wanted to do, or a question that I had, is I wondered what our crime rate would look like perhaps before the year 1950. And this is just a quick Google search. And I don't want to pretend like everything that you find on Google or on AI or online is all truth. Us brothers just said that. But again, sometimes these can be good nuggets for you to lead and go do further research. Perhaps you go and put a question in Google, and then that opens up some sources that you didn't know existed. And now you can go further search into that topic. But again, brothers just searched a plain question here: African-American crime rate before 1950. Brother, are you able to get this real quick? What's written here? I'm gonna blow it up a little bit.
Okay. Starting at reliable, right?
And Shalom, brother Dante. Shalom, brother Obadiah. Shalom. All praise to the Most High. Yeah, if we can get that one, brother, starting at reliable. This again is going into the African American crime rate before 1950. Because remember, what us brothers was addressing in the previous video was some of the foundations to the very pointing of the finger that many people are trying to do. But they want to address the end of the problem and never address any of the root and never address any of the foundation. So again, in that last video, us brothers covered pretty much from about the 16th to 15th century all the way up until about 1950. And like I said, I wanted us to get this information about what crime rate looked like for the so-called African American before the year 1950. Let's see what the Google AI tells us, brother.
Reliable, specific crime rate statistics for African Americans before 1950 are scarce, but available data and historical context indicate that racial disparities in victimization and imprisonment were significant. For example, in Philadelphia between 1948 and 1952, Black men died from homicide at 12 times the rate of white men.
Pay attention
Data.
to stuff like that. Think about that kind of data. And why isn't those things mentioned? Okay, we see that a lot of our oppressors, a lot of the people, and I wanted to mention this in the last live, but believe it or not, a lot of people don't understand that they're just a mouthpiece and they're ignorant to the real plans that are going on above their heads. Matter of fact, let me get that one real quick, brother. I think we can find that in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5. Can we get this one, brother? Ecclesiastes chapter 5. And I want to say we can start at verse 8. Because again, like I said, we addressed a lot of what you would call the so-called white man, but we got to do this in honesty and sincerity. A lot of them are even speaking in ignorance. Not your average so-called white man has the ins and outs and the secrets of all of the movements of the oppressor. Some of them are just as ignorant as we are. So a lot of times when we're addressing people, we got to understand at what levels we're attacking. Brothers brought this out in our last live, Ephesians 6 and 12. Sometimes it's mighty to really understand the condition of the battle. That it's not always a battle of flesh and blood. It's not necessarily the man that's standing right in front of you. Rather, it's those principalities and those spiritual powers in high places. So again, let's read this one, brother. Ecclesiastes 5 and 8.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regarded, and there be higher than they.
See, and there be, oh, you can finish that out, brother.
Verse 9. Moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field.
So notice what it's telling you about not to marvel when you see the oppression of the poor and perverting of judgment and justice, and marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regarded, and there be higher than they. What is that essentially saying? There's always levels to this thing. Okay, there's people that are higher up, that are higher up, that are higher up, that are always oppressing all of those that are beneath them. So a lot of times you're dealing with people who are really dealing in ignorance. Even though they may fit some of the qualities of our oppressors, sometimes they don't even know that they're also operating in ignorance and they don't know. So believe it or not, a lot of you could also be educated by this live. We initially said, of course, and still mean that this live is definitely for some of our young people, coming from some brothers who truly care about them and want to see our people come back to our true nationality and heritage, which is Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We also don't want to be involved in black culture, but again, we just want to get some of the information coming from the roots, brother. I wanted to, again, like I said, play this first video. Actually, brother Salakia, before we get to the video, I forgot I had you reading in this statistic about crime before 1950, and I know we stopped at about the fact that in 1948 and 1952. Black men die from homicide at 12 times the rate of white men. If you could pick up from there, brother.
You could put it on the screen.
Oh, Salaki.
Okay. I'll start off at the for example.
Come.
For example, in Philadelphia between 1948 and 1952, Black men died from homicide at 12 times the rate of white men. Data from the 1940s also shows disproportionately high African American homicide victimization rates compared to the overall U.S. population.
Con. Can we keep going, brother?
Victimization and homicide rates. Disproportionate victimization. In Philadelphia, between 1948 to the homicide rate for Black men was 12 times higher than for white men. Homicide rates. In 1940, African American homicide victimization rates were 54.4 per 100,000.
Con, think about that. Just listen to some of these stats that don't get addressed before the year 1950, as we said. Because again, we like to discuss some of this root. How much crime were our people committing in this time is essentially where we're trying to get to. We have to understand that there was an entry point that created what you would call Black culture. Okay, and us brothers, like we said from the first video, are trying to get to the root of it and trying to get to the foundation of it. So the question again is, where was all of these Black crime statistics before the year 1950? Okay, let's get a little bit more, brother. It's almost up. Let's get that disproportionate incarceration.
Disproportionate incarceration. From 1850 to 1940, racial and ethnic minorities, including African Americans, constituted 40% to 50% of the prison population, despite being a smaller percentage of the total population.
How many of them were actually criminals? Or was it the criminals that were actually locking up innocent people? So again, when we're talking about crime and we're pointing the finger trying to figure out how we fix this issue, let's address all of the issues so we can really address the problem and not just point at it and talk about it for the sake of what? Views, or for the sake of pushing whatever agenda you may want to push. But again, this is just straight the facts. Can we get the historical context, brother?
Historical context. Violence and racial terror. The period was marked by racial violence and terrorism, such as lynchings, which were used to terrorize and control the Black community. This violence was not always reflected in official crime statistics. Racial injustice. The high rates of victimization and imprisonment were the result of systemic racism and racial injustice, not a higher propensity for crime among African Americans.
Say that last part again, brother.
Not a higher propensity for crime among African Americans.
Con, it wasn't at that time a higher propensity for crime among African Americans. So again, you have to get into the question of who really is responsible for creating what you call Black culture. Because again, the crime rates and the same things that everybody wants to point their finger at now, nobody wants to point the finger at some of the foundation and the things that went into that. Brothers have kept repeating. All right, let's get into this, brother. I said I wanted to get that history. Now let's go straight into this video. Again, let's think about what's going on after the 1950s, after the 1960s, understanding even what we just read about how the crime rate looked before the 1950s when, you know, some of our people were obviously being oppressed and being persecuted by our enemies, even still being locked up. But look at the crime rate during that time. Right now, we're going to get a little bit of information going into what they call Cont'd Pro. So brothers had this video put up, and I just wanted to share this because somebody rightfully in the chat put a good message up going into Cont'd Pro, because like I said, brothers went all the way up about to the 1950s and 1960s. And that's what brothers kind of wanted to segue into the new lesson, going into another Satan's devices. One of them, a very big one, is the age of deception. And you're going to see how much that is used. You're going to see how much deception and infiltration has been used, especially more so in our current times. Again, brothers talked about some of the past and some of the foundation devices that the oppressors have used to create and make us in the situation that we are. But now brothers going to move to some things that are more recent. So again, we're going to go ahead and play this video. As we always do, we want to say fair use. Okay, fair use for the video that brothers are about to play. And I'm going to go ahead and get into it.
I can't hear. There's no sound.
Slocky, what was that, brother?
There's no sound.
There's no sound. Salakia. Let me pull that back. Is it still no sound, brother?
Still no sound.
Hmm. All right. One second. Looks like it's not letting me play that one. All right, I'll pause that one for now. All right, that one's not letting me play that one. It said I might be able to reload it. Let me try to just reload this, brother, and see if it plays after that. Is that playing now, brother, or no?
No, no, sir. Still no sound.
All right. Are brothers able to hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, Salakia. Yeah, I don't know what that video is doing, man. Let me try to get everything set back up. Salakia, bear with me, everybody. We're gonna get it set back up. Is it good? Is it good now, though, brother? Is it still pulling up or no?
Yeah, I don't see your screen.
All right. Let me see. Got that one. All right. Did that come up now, brother?
I see your screen. Your screen is up.
Okay.
It's on Ecclesiastes.
All right, Salakia. So let's try this one more time. If this doesn't work, brothers will keep moving, but let's see if we can get this video played. All right, here we go again.
King, there's only one thing left for you to
Yep.
do. You know
We
what it
good
is.
I'll pray.
This is an anonymous letter sent by the FBI to Martin Luther King, urging him to commit suicide. He was one of the primary targets for the FBI's illegal surveillance program in the 60s called COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program which targeted many civil rights groups, such as the Black Panthers and the American Indian Movement, and activists like Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X for more than a decade. The purpose was to, quote, expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, and otherwise neutralize the possible threats against the existing order. The program was exposed in 1971 when a group of activists stole documents from an FBI office on the night of the Muhammad Ali-Joe Frazier fight and leaked them to the press. Today, COINTELPRO is something people recall from the past as the darkest FBI program exposed so far.
So again, and that's something that's worthy to consider. Okay, because us brothers go into this COINTELPRO and you see how it was involved with many of the assassinations of our civil rights leaders. Okay, how weird is it is that the very people who are pointing the finger at you for being what they would call criminals are some of the same people who come from ancestors that assassinated some of your greatest of people. These are the very people who have left up some of the very representatives of the Black culture that they so hate or that they so have so much disdain for, because you've assassinated all of the men that were trying to bring their people to be better people. Okay, you assassinate the Martin Luther Kings, you assassinate the Malcolm X's, the Fred Hamptons. Okay, all of these things are different programs that were put into place in order to cripple a people, just to 40 years later point the finger at them like you don't understand anything that happened to them and why they are the way they are. So again, brothers just wanted to get into some of the foundation, some of the truth. I got another video for brothers. This is a man who was an informant for the FBI. Okay, I watched the whole video, and if brothers and sisters do got a moment, Most High willing, y'all can check it out. I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm only going to play about 2 minutes of it because I want y'all to be able to hear something that he says at the end. They talk a little bit about COINTELPRO, but also about some of the government tactics that are not only occurring in their time or whenever this video was recorded, but also the things we have to look out for in 2025, because many of these things that they were doing aforetime in the time of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, you can bet your dollar that they still doing that in 2025 and have amped it up. Matter of fact, that's what we're going to get right here. I'm going to go ahead and play this starting from at about I'm going to say starting at maybe about the 20-minute mark.
Agents that disagree with the tactics that were used during the so-called COINTEL period, when there are some agents, the old line agents, that disagree with the tactics that were used during the so-called COINTEL period. But one thing I don't want us to jump off of is that people always they're talking about COINTEL now so heavily. I'm not talking about COINTEL, I'm talking about a thing called BD, which was better known as Black Death. The Black Death was set up for a simple thing of infiltrating black organizations and black groups, whatever.
Where was this Black Desk, or were there a number of them?
There were a number of Black Desks, but the head Black Desk was in Washington, D.C., controlled by Sullivan. And
Was he black?
No.
Mm-hmm. And what was the function of the Black Desks all over the country? I guess there were dozens.
The function of the Black Desk was to monitor activity, social unrest, revolutionary groups, cultural groups, and such in the black community.
And feed it into this central desk. And it still exists?
As far as I know, yes.
We've seen a number of investigations into the assassination of Martin Luther King. We've seen an extended police trial of the assassination of Malcolm X. What you seem to say substantiates what many black people say out on the street, that government agents or agencies knew that these assassinations were brewing and either participated in them or allowed them to take place.
It would behoove black people, it would behoove all people, really, to question so-called the cut and dry one lone assassin theory. The Bureau and other intelligence agencies are very good at conspiracies. They are very good at setting people up to be killed. They are very good at making innuendos so the person will be killed.
City police don't know about, because they have policemen in there. They don't let black people form anything without some policemen in there. And while I was in the black Muslim movement, over the black Muslim movement, many of the police who were sent to infiltrate us, they're black, would tell me, say, look, I'm a cop, but I have to come. They would tell me. I knew the Muslim movement was full of police. So don't you think anything is going down that they don't know about. The only thing that goes down is what they want to go down. And what they don't want to go down, they don't let it go down.
So again, I just wanted us to be able to get a good idea of the level of infiltration that they went through. I recommend that if you do have time, you check out that whole video. I'm not trying to say that I know that everything that man is saying is credible, but what that man did have was records showing that he was involved as an FBI informant for probably decades, and that he participated in many probably really well-known raids among a lot of our people in the African-American community. So it's good to pick the brain of somebody who's been used like that and see a lot of the things that he says he's seen while working within that organization. So again, he mentioned a lot of different organizations and said that these things are still going on in 2025. The infiltration of black groups, the infiltration of black organizations in order to corrupt them, in order to dismantle them. Notice this isn't talking about crime rate. No, this is your good old neighborhood government infiltrating what they would call its own citizens and trying to bring them down from the inside out. So again, it's just not fair to point the finger at our young people or at the culture in general, at our community in general, and not pay any attention to any of these inner workings, because these inner workings are the reason why a lot of our civil rights leaders, some of the men who may have been leading people right or wrong, but at least leading people to unity and things like that. Matter of fact, that's what brothers want to pick up from, because we know that COINTELPRO, one of the main people that it was against, or one of the main things that it did to destroy, was the Black Panther Party. Okay, and brother's going to pull up a little bit of information going into that one, and then we're going to get into some scriptures, brother. Let's get this one. All right, brother, if you can see that real quick, I just want to pull up this this quick information. Again, a lot of this stuff is just done by a quick Google search, and then you can go ahead and continue the information and search more resources, get more sources and more credible information if you desire to do so. But brother, I just want to start right here to give our people an example of what the Black Panther Party essentially was. Can we start right there, brother?
The first Rainbow Coalition was a socialist political organization founded in Chicago in 1969 by Fred Hampton, the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. This alliance brought together poor and working class people from different racial backgrounds to fight for social change. Black Panther Party, led by Fred Hampton and comprised of African Americans. Young Lords Organization, a former Puerto Rican street gang that became a civil rights group led by Jose Chacha Jimenez. Young Patriots Organization, a group of poor white Appalachian migrants who were working class leftists.
So again, this is what the Black Panther Party consisted of. And I'm pretty sure to most of us, I'm not saying a lot of things that are new. To maybe some of you, it is new. But if you look at any of the information, any documentaries, any of the history, any of the documents that are available on the life of Fred Hampton, you'll see that the FBI literally went into his home after it was speculated that one of those informants, again, because we went into informants first, but it was an informant, okay, that actually infiltrated the Black Panther Party, and it's speculated that they had put something in Fred Hampton's drink or whatever it may have been and caused him to be in a comatose state. And then when the FBI raised their home, they find Fred Hampton asleep in the bed and shoot over 100+ shots. Okay, and that unaliving was never accounted for. These are the kind of killings, these are the kind of things that your government is doing in order to infiltrate organizations like the one that we're reading now. What do you think about what the Black Panther Party was doing, what they're so afraid of? Setting up communities for the inner city kids, providing meals and different programs like that. So again, these are the very people who point the finger at you right now. These are the very people who want to pretend that they're the white knight and that they themselves come with liberty and with salvation and they're your best friend, but they don't address any of these situations when they were moving like this. And now they're looking at some of these same people and calling them the evil ones. Again, matter of fact, let's pull out a scripture that goes into that one, brother. If we can get Proverbs chapter 17. And with this one, brother, let's start at verse 15. Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 15.
Proverbs chapter 17, verse 15. He that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord.
Think about that. And remember what we read in Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4, where it said that a mark was going to be put on all of the servants of the Most High that sighed and cried for all the abominations that take place in the midst thereof. And look at what the Most High is saying is abomination. He that justified the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to Yahawah. So again, it's abomination to justify the wicked, and it's abomination to condemn the just. So look how often that's been done in the so-called African Americans' lifetime, in our lifetime, at least being over here on the Western Hemisphere. So again, we're looking at a lot of these issues from the root. Brother, let's get another one. This is another classic. This is the tactic. These are the devices of the very people who are pointing the finger at you now. Let's get that, brother. Isaiah 5 and 20. Let's get another popular tactic. Let's start at that one, brother.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
Think about that. How hypocritical is it for them to murder all of your good men, or what even they would consider to be your good men, and then point the finger at the youth when you don't have any good men? Think about the hypocrisy that comes with that. Think about the amount of actual care that they must not have for you to not even sit and look at any of those things and address those things. They were unaliving the very men who they desire for you to be right now. but it just lets you know, again, the hypocritical nature of some of your oppressors. To literally, like us brothers brought out in the last video, whose oppressors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. These are some of the devices that they're going through. All right, but I wanted us to get to another video because, again, we got two more. I don't think this will be that long of a lesson, but again, we'll go by the Spirit, most high willing. Shalom again, brother Jeff Berry, Shalom, brother Aaron, and Shalom, brother Rapakana. All praise to the Most High. And Shalom, brother. All praise to the Most High for y'all. All right, check this one out. I want to get one more video for y'all, and let's get this one right here. Speaking about somebody that's deceptive.
Mr.
Salaki, I'm going to start this one over. Brother, are we hearing this one?
Yeah, I just heard it for a second.
Okay, calm. All right, let's check this one out.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, esteemed members of the Knesset and cherished citizens of Israel, we gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Pay attention to the room.
Mr. President, Mr.
Let's
Prime
get that one more
Minister,
time.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed members of the Knesset and cherished citizens of Israel, we gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Again, and remember the scriptures that we just read. Woe to them that call evil good and good evil. Okay, listen to the video that we just read and think about how hypocritical, again, this is for them to be saying this in your face right now. Again, you'd have to pay attention to the lesson that brothers did. If you haven't watched that lesson, most high willing, you can go back and check that out about many of the thievery that these so-called people have done to the black community and what they would call African Americans in this country. For them to be out there giving praise and thanks to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not understanding that they are the very ones who have committed atrocities that we've seen in the book of Micah chapter 2, in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2. The same people that oppress a man and his heritage, oppress a man and even his household. Okay, these are the fruits of these people. Okay, let's get one, brother, real quick, because this is a classic. Let's get First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48, brother, one of the classics. Before we go into this next little slide, can we get this First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48? Listen to another one of the tactics, again, another one of Satan's devices, another one of the tactics of your oppressor. Can we get verse 48 out?
First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images.
If you don't know anything about the book of the law, go to Sirach chapter 20, verse 23, and understand that the book of the law is going into the heritage that was commanded to the congregations of Jacob. That's the very thing that the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Okay, brothers can get a little bit more wisdom of that when you go into the book of Wisdom in Solomon and you see some of the ways. Okay, Job chapter 9, verse 24 tells you that let me get that real quick, brother. Matter of fact, I don't want to paraphrase that one. I'm just get it real quick. Because again, we're going over a quick few devices so that you can understand not only the situation that you're in, but understand the condition of the battle. Okay, can we get the classic, brother? Job chapter 9 and verse 24. These are the devices of the enemy.
Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
If not, where and who is he? So again, look at all these deeds that are going on in the earth. As we said a lot in our last video, who bears these fruits? Okay, who bears this fruit? Let's get this one, brother. Let's get another abomination. Can we get Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 1?
Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. You could scroll out just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight.
But a just weight is his delight. So again, is it not a false balance that none of these injustices have been addressed? Matter of fact, brothers are going to get into that. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. I want to take a look at this slide right here. And brothers have used this before, you know, earlier on when we were doing videos. So you may be familiar with this one, but check this one out. This is a graph that brothers pulled up. Okay. Are you able to see this, brother?
Can you scroll in a little bit?
Okay, Con. All right, Con.
Okay.
This is a chart that was provided by CFR.org, the Council on Foreign Relations. And it has a graph, brother. If you could just read the blue part.
Israel is the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. aid, United States aid.
Come on, keep going, brother.
Total aid from 1946 to 2023 by fiscal year, constant 2002 dollars.
Oh, no, it's just $2022. But again, look at the total that amounts to. Now, again, if you watched our last video, you remember that we did a graph or showed a graph that showed that between the year 1870 to about the year perhaps maybe 2008, give or take, that the so-called African American in this country loss was equated to about $326 billion worth of land in this country. Okay, look how much resources has been given to the land of Israel just from the year 1946 up until the year 2023. $300 billion in aid. So again, think about the hypocritical nature of your president of this country. Meanwhile, he's holding citizens here that he know he's oppressed, as the scriptures outline. If you really went into that scripture and knew anything about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you would have been able to understand the true plight of his people. And you probably would have been able, matter of fact, brother's just going to pull out scriptures to address this. But I just wanted us to have the information on, like I said, us addressing those who call evil good and those who call good evil, because you'll understand that our president is over there telling them that he's aligning with them because they have the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we're going to find out that the whole time, the children of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are the very ones that they have in captivity. Okay, that's why we want to get out another abomination for you. And this is one that's not used enough, brother. Let's get this classic. The book of Proverbs, chapter 12. And brother, if we can read verse 22. Let's see another abomination to the Most High. Remember what brothers brought out in Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4 about that mark that's going to be set on those that sigh and cry for the abominations that are done in the midst thereof, and compare that to another mark that's going to be being set in the last days, that mark of the beast. So which mark are you receiving? Okay, let's go into this one, brother. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 22 about another abomination to Yahawah.
Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight.
And see, that's how we know that when the Most High comes, he's going to do away with all these abominations that are done in the midst thereof. And that if you are really waiting on the return of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and you're not sighing and crying for these abominations, then I don't know what you're waiting for, because these are the very issues that the Most High is coming to bring salvation to. These very abominations that brothers are bringing out. Let's get one more though, brother. I want to go to Proverbs. Let's get Proverbs chapter 26. Can we get verse 28 out? Proverbs 26 and verse 28.
Proverbs chapter 26, verse 28. A lying tongue hated those that are afflicted by it.
Say that part again, brother.
A lying tongue hated those that are afflicted by it.
Now you got to sit and think about that. Think about what that says. A lying tongue hated those that are afflicted by it. See, these are the very men that are lying to you, and they hate you when you wake up to the truth. Okay, it says the lying tongue hated those that are afflicted by it. So they're lying to you, and then they hate you even though you're being afflicted by the lies. These are the very people who steal your culture away from you and then say things like, look at you, you don't have a culture, you want to get in everybody else's culture. You're the same people, or your ancestors, should we say, if you one of them people that's having that argument. It's your ancestors that are the culture stealers and that are the robbers of culture. So think about these very same people who are telling lies, and they hate the very people who are being afflicted by those lies. Can we keep going, brother?
A lying tongue hated those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin.
And a flattering mouth worketh ruin. One more, brother. Proverbs chapter 29, and we're going to get verse 12 out. Let's get that one.
Proverbs chapter 29, verse 12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked.
If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. And what we just seen in that video was a blatant lie. Okay, going over there to the land of Israel and saying that you over there aligning with the people that have the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the whole time you have his very people who are caught here in captivity. Brothers often bring out Luke 21:24. Matter of fact, let's just get that real quick, brother. Luke chapter 21, verse 24. The hypocrisy in a statement like that. These are the lies that oppress a people, like we just read in the scriptures. Let's get this one real quick, brother, to see who's in the land of Jerusalem right now and where the real children of Israel at. Can we get this one, brother? Luke chapter 21, verse 24, the classic.
Luke chapter 21, verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
If you're a sincere person, whether you're an Israelite or a heathen, no matter where you are, you got to stop running away from these scriptures. Look at all the abominations that we say come with lying. That's what you can do if you want to do something helpful. Speak truth. Speak truth, everyone, to his neighbor. Okay, Con, I just want to say that, brother, because again, we just have to be honest with the scriptures. It's telling us that the Jews were going to be led away captive into all nations. And keep going, brother.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So again, we already know who's going to be trodden down Jerusalem until the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. And we likewise know that the Jews were sent away as captives into all nations. So again, this is just literally not honestly reading the text. And these are the very people that are what? Ruling over us, governing over us, in charge of your education, in charge of your food, in charge of so many things. As well as brothers went into the last lesson, your own oppressor is essentially telling you who you are. That's what your brothers come out here to give you back. Your brothers come out here to give you the truth of the word, the scriptures, and bring you back to your true God. So again, brother, if we can, I want to get the last video that us brothers was playing. Matter of fact, no, brother, let me get one more. Let's get this one, brother. Let's get Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. Again, the message that we just heard from President Trump was going into the Israelis over there being the children of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So us brothers want to read Revelations 2 and 9 and get this understanding.
Revelations chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works, in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
What is that telling you? That's telling you that there's somebody on the earth that are saying that they are Jews, and they are not. And they are actually the synagogue of Satan. So again, these are things that need to be addressed. Who's actually fitting the prophecies of the children of Israel, and who's fitting the prophecies of the oppressor? Us brothers again did a good breakdown, Most High willing, going into that. And you have to be honest with yourself. Who's fitting the fruits of, like brothers read in Micah 2 and Habakkuk chapter 2, and who's truly fitting the fruits of the children of Israel, being led away into all nations as captives, having their knowledge of their history and of themselves taken away from them. Okay, so again, we have to be honest with the scriptures. Let's get one more. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 9. This is the last one, brother. Let's get that one.
Revelation chapter 3, verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
Con. So again, brothers just wanted to go into some of these untruths that are really taken away from Black culture. For one, what we mentioned, the quote from George Orwell, was the fact that if you take somebody's history away from them, that was one of the most detrimental things that you can do for them. So what brothers are uncovering is not only have we had our history taken away from us, but now you got somebody proudly walking around wearing it like a new coat that they just found. So again, we're really trying to uncover all of the roots of what Black culture is. If you've been keeping up, you're understanding now that Black culture has actually nothing to do with so-called Black people. But instead, these systems, these different atrocities were placed on Black people. And again, as we said so often yesterday, it's our heart's prayer and desire that we bring our people back to Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the God of the Bible. So again, us brothers want to get this last video because what we went into is some of the plights and some of the devices of the enemy. But here's another maybe less well-known thing. The enemy can also be within. That also can be part of Satan's devices. Satan doesn't have to always just use the other nations in order to put you in the situation or the condition that you are. Okay, so we got another video, and we know that this one's been making its rounds, but brothers want to go ahead and pull this one out. Okay.
Have you seen this video of Pastor Philip Anthony calling out the false doctrine of the Black Israelites, and they are not too happy? Check this out.
You don't know that you are Hebrew Israelite. You can be here, but you cannot spread your doctrine here. You cannot give out pamphlets in the parking lot. We will hunt you down and put you out, or we will win you to the Lord Jesus. You cannot spread your false doctrine here. You will be exposed. You cannot preach that false doctrine here, but you're welcome to be here among us, but you're not welcome to spread your false doctrine here.
Listen to these things. See, you got to sit here and pay attention when somebody just speaks. When you're sitting there talking to your church, telling them you can't spread your false doctrine here, what false doctrine? Like, be specific, because it's real easy to sit in a congregation full of people and be vague and just condemn a bunch of brothers and not really address what the actual issue is. So I would have preferred that if you really had an issue with brothers about doctrine, that you would address whatever the doctrine is that you believe is false. What brothers out here in Doctrine of Israelite teach is John chapter 7 and verse 16 on down. We have the doctrine of him who sent us. So I don't know what this brother is trying to say about false doctrine, but it would have been more helpful if he would have addressed whatever doctrine he was talking about. But I just want us to pay attention to some of the deceptive that we can even get in when we hear people speak, because you've just condemned an entire community of people and placed a title of false doctrine on them, but we don't even know what that is. So again, that's just dangerous rhetoric. I'm gonna keep the video going.
Here in Jesus' name, and I said that.
And just for the record, I agree with everything Pastor Philip Anthony said. Black Israelites, I do not agree. Have you seen this video?
And see, that's the main problem. He agrees with everything Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell said, and people don't agree with everything thus said the Most High. That's really the problem. That's why men can get up here and attack an entire community and throw the term of false doctrine on them, but not address exactly what the doctrine is. No scriptures are being brought out that you may be able to contend for whatever thing that you're trying to put on the brothers. And I'm pretty sure when the brothers did go out there in March, that they were more than willing to address whatever thoughts you might have had about the doctrine. But again, these are the very things that we have to watch out for. And the reason why brothers brought this out is because this is coming from some of your own people. Okay, one of the devices of Satan also is to use many of our own people. Brothers went into the scriptures a lot and showed you many of the tactics of Satan, for example, in the book of Judith, chapter 5, and in the book of Psalm, chapter 83. But what you'll also find is that the oppressors, Satan, even used some of your own people against you. That's why brothers even started the lesson off going into Cont'd, and you see that that's a tactic they've been using in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I'm pretty sure that they're still using that even in 2025. I'm guaranteeing that there's FBI informants in a lot of our organizations already. Okay, they didn't tamper down on any of those programs. I'm pretty sure they probably ramped them up. So again, a lot of times the enemy can come from within. That's also part of Satan's devices that we want our people to be hip to. So again, we're going to go into something mighty in the scriptures. Let's get a mighty account in the book of First Maccabees. All right, this is the book of First Maccabees, brother. With this one, let's start at verse 11, brother. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11. Brother Jeff Berry said, brothers like him are trying to keep his supporters satisfied. And you know who that is. And you're not wrong, brother. When you're going to see that a lot of our people who sold out for the oppressor had some similar motivations. Wealth, filthy lucre. Those are some of the very people who have ascended to the position of pastor in our community. So again, in order for brothers to be honest, we got to address the attacks that are coming from all sides. You're going to be getting attacked from the other nations. Absolutely. But there's also going to be people of your own kind that are also part of Satan's devices. And we want to, again, make our people hip to that. So can we start at verse 11, brother? First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 11.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
And that's just for anybody who didn't know, there is such thing as a wicked man of Israel. Okay, not the only wicked doesn't always have to be the other nations. There's also such thing as a wicked man of Israel. Okay, keep going, brother.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when
we can stop right there, brother. And we're sold to do mischief. So again, these are some of our very people. Listen to what it said in verse 11. It said that they were persuaded to make a covenant with the heathen because since they had departed from them, they had had much sorrow. Again, that sounds like what my brother Jeff is trying to address. A lot of times it's that convenience, that comfort that makes our people turn. Okay, so again, we're going to get into some of these devices as well. Brother, let's get another classic. I'm going to go to the book of Matthew with this one, brother. Let's go to Matthew chapter 2. All right, can we start here at verse 1? Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. This is a crazy account as well.
Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Now, when Yahawah was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
Now pay attention to what's happening in this account. Okay, who did Herod go to when he wanted to get information? It said that he gathered the chief priests in verse 4. It says, and when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Hamashiach should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet. And then he essentially gave them the prophecy and let them know that. Okay, and if you read the rest of this account, we know that Herod ended up setting the order to kill all of the firstborn of the children of Israel. Okay, the males. So again, this is our people already conspiring with the enemy, even in the scriptures in the first Maccabees. But we got another one, brother. Let's get this one in the book of John, brother, chapter 12. Can we get down John chapter 12 and start at verse 45?
John chapter 12, verse
Block you,
40.
brother. I mean, John chapter 12. Let's start at verse let me see. All right. Yeah, let's start at verse 42, brother.
John chapter 12, verse 42.
This is also going into the brother Jeff Berry point.
Nevertheless, among the chief rulers, also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God.
For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. So again, there's a lot of our people who are walking around like that, who are also your enemies. Some of these people who are going to sit and sell their brothers out. Us brothers was talking about this at camp. Imagine you in your community and you got a group of maybe hundreds, perhaps thousands of your own people marching down the street because they want to try to rescue you and give you the truth of the scriptures. I heard some of them people in the 2819 church saying that they felt like they were being persecuted, and brothers were speaking on that. So just consider the amount of trickery that's being done, that people who are really trying their best to give you thus said the Most High. And I'm not saying you got to agree with every single Hebrew Israelite brother. I'm not that brother that tries to make that point. What we want people to do is humble themselves to the Most High and humble themselves to the word. So you have brothers who, I said again, I'm sure are more than willing to discuss any doctrine with you in the scriptures, but yet we got people sharing videos about, I'm siding with Philip Anthony Mitchell, and they're not siding with Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They're not siding with thus said the Most High. And again, I said the Philip Anthony Mitchell brother didn't even address what the false doctrine is that the Hebrew Israelites were being guilty of. So again, if you really want to speak thus said the Most High, I'm pretty sure those brothers would have engaged you. But instead, you got people online saying they feel persecuted. Them brothers are over here attacking us. Think about that. That's why I said, or should I say the scripture said rather, Salakia, woe to them that call good evil and evil good, in Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Okay, because that's exactly what's going on. The people who are trying to give you the truth are the very people who are being called wicked. And the people who are up there giving you blatant lies are the very people who are being called righteous. So again, that's the world that we're living in. That's also part of Satan's devices. Matter of fact, we were warned about this, and a lot of times we don't go to this scripture. I'm going to pull this one up, brother. Can we go to the book of Micah, chapter 7? This is maybe not a real popular part because it's kind of a scary part. I can't lie. But sometimes this is the condition of the battle when you look around, brother. Can we get Micah starting at verse 1, brother? 7 and verse 1.
Micah chapter 7, verse 1. Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the sum of fruits, as the
great gleaning
grapplings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. Verse 2. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net.
Sometimes brothers and sisters may feel like that. You may wake up one day and feel like there's no truth everywhere. And guess what? You probably ain't that far from the truth in saying that and believing that, because there's deceptions at every turn. We brothers just said that we know that knowledge was going to increase, but you also got to apply 1 Thessalonians 5 and 21, like brothers brought out. Prove all things and hold fast to those which is good. Sirach chapter 19 and 22 says what? That the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. So not every piece of information is always good for you. So a lot of us are going to wake up and have this same plight that the prophet Micah is having. Can we keep going, brother, to verse 3?
Micah chapter 7, verse 3. That they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince acts, and the judge acts for a reward. And the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire. So they wrap it up. Verse 4. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn edge. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity.
And here's the crazy part, brother, or should I say it's just the truth part. It may hurt, but this is the condition of the battle. Here it is, brothers. Verse 5.
Micah chapter 7, verse 5. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house.
And verse 7, brother, because here's the solution. And believe it or not, brothers kind of went into this on the last lesson last week when we read Psalm chapter 37, verses 1 through 11 on down, about some of the things that the righteous are going to be doing, even when they're surrounded by all the wickedness that are going to be going on in the last days. This is another thing that they're going to be doing. Can we get verse 7 up?
Micah 7, verse 7. Therefore, I will look unto the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me.
My God will hear me. So again, that's very important that we have that mindset in these last days. That's one of the pieces of armor that we need to put on. And like I said, it's a scary piece, but it's a true piece. Do you want people to tell you the truth or lie to you? There's a lot of lies out there. You have to stay stick and glued to this word. Truth. What did the Bible tell you the truth was? The law was the truth. Psalms 119 and 142. John 17 and 17, he said the word was the truth. Or the classic, John 14 and 6, Yahawah told you that he was the way, the truth, and the life. So again, there's not a whole lot of truth out there. And if you're not stuck to the scriptures, then you're not going to have a lot of it either. Because like the prophet Micah said, let me read that verse one more time. Trust ye not in a friend, put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Think about the video that we just watched. That man sat there and listened to Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell say whatever it was that he said and was like, I'm with Philip Anthony Mitchell. Okay, these are people who are putting their trust and their confidence in these guides. Meanwhile, we want to be like Micah in chapter 7. Therefore, I will look unto Yahawah. That's what brothers and sisters want to be able to say. That's where they're getting their understanding, that that's the rock of their salvation. So again, these are another tactics and devices that we have to be careful of. And shalom to everybody that tuned in. Again, I see brother Aaron Israel. Shalom, brother Greg Moore. What do we got here? I see we got a few comments. Brother Aaron, once they hear all nations are not designed for salvation, they call it a false doctrine. And you're not wrong, brother. You know, that's usually a big point, but it would be very mighty for you to just bring out. And I know you already know that, but it would be very mighty for him to just mention whatever it is when you're trying to throw the term false doctrine and you mentioning Hebrew Israelites. You know, as we always say out there on the highways and hedges in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and 2 says. Matter of fact, I just want to pull this out, man, because I don't want to paraphrase any of these. And you never know, one of these 2819 people might be watching. You know, brothers don't call themselves Hebrew Israelites just because they joined a part of a movement. If you really pay attention, you'll see that this is an ethnicity. Okay, brothers are coming back to their heritage. Okay, let's listen to the wisdom from Paul, brother. Can we get this 2 Corinthians chapter 12? Is that what I want? Let me see. Let me see. My bad. Let me go one chapter over, brother. Salaki. I think that's 2 Corinthians 11. All right, brother. Can we get this one? 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 22. Let's just get some understanding on why brothers are even using the term Hebrew Israelites. Again, because one of the things that he said was that it's false doctrine and you're addressing Hebrew Israelites. Again, this is not just a religion. Can we get this understanding, brother? 2 Corinthians 11 and 22.
2 Corinthians 11, verse 22. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I.
Now, if it's okay for Paul to say this, what is wrong with a brother saying this when he believes he's an Hebrew Israelite now? Look at what the stipulations he told you. He said, are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Okay, so us brothers obviously understand that there is such thing as an Hebrew Israelite, and even Paul is given an understanding that this is going back to being from the seed of Abraham. So a lot of times people come with all these different things about Hebrew Israelites, and it's never to really address what's put in scripture. I got a feeling that 2819 church is on that same thing. So again, they want to discuss doctrine, but they never really want to come out and discuss exactly what it is they want to go into. Because like I said, you know, I don't agree with every Hebrew Israelite brother, but I'm sure IUIC would have been more than willing to tackle any questions they had about doctrine. But what I'm trying to warn is the sheep, okay, the people who are being deceived by these pastors. Like brothers brought out, Satan's devices come on more than one front than just the other nations. And we're getting a clear example of somebody lying to you. I've heard that this man said things like Yahawah was not a black man, and that people in this congregation were just flat out saying that Yahawah was a white man. Now, I'm only saying these things and bringing this up because these are the conversations I heard. I didn't go and investigate these things, but if somebody's saying that that church is pulling out lies, if they're not giving you thus said the Most High, I would agree with that. So again, if anybody from that church or from that community desires to come on here and speak Bible, us brothers will definitely open up the platform to be able to engage in anything regarding doctrine or whatever. But it would just be more beneficial if we would stick to discussing thus said the Most High. All right, brothers, going to go ahead and finish up a little bit. I just wanted to get a few more bonus scriptures, okay? Let me go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 8, because the Most High gives us some mighty instruction. Okay, there's something that we can do with this information. Okay, it's not enough to just know all of these things. Brothers discussed it a lot in our last video. We don't make these videos expecting for the other nations to all of a sudden turn over a new leaf. We don't make it for them that they don't do. I will believe that anybody who honestly is looking at these scriptures sees exactly what we're seeing. And believe it or not, if you look at the climate of the world, a lot of people are seeing them imposters for who they are. But sometimes you just got to be willing to come to the scriptures in sincerity and in truth. That's all brothers are really trying to offer you at the end of the day. So again, we're not putting the information out so that you won't be able to turn over a new leaf. But essentially, this is for the very people that y'all are trying to condemn. The so-called black man, so-called black woman in this country, or who you would even call some of the youth, or what they've been putting on us as black culture. Most High willing brothers have been doing well at unpeeling some of those layers of what black culture really is, where it really comes from, and who's really responsible for it. Again, and us brothers ain't going to say this enough, our heart's prayer and desire is that we bring our people back to Yahawah by Hashem Yahweh Shai. But let's get this one classic piece of wisdom, brother. The Most High giving us instruction of what we have to do, brother. Zechariah chapter 8 and start at verse 15.
Zechariah chapter 8, verse 15. So again, have I thought in these days to do well in Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not. These are the things that ye shall do.
That's important. These are the things that ye shall do. Let's listen up, Judah and Israel.
Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor.
No, speak what Philip Anthony Mitchell said.
Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates.
How you going to speak truth if you don't know thus said the Most High? Brothers just plainly went over the scriptures that let you know what the truth is. Psalms 119, 142, John 17, 17, John 14, verse 6, so many other scriptures, John 16, 13, going into what the truth is and what the truth looks like. So again, this is what the Most High is commanding of us, that speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. That's what we said in our last video. It's not just us, brothers. Everybody got a job to do. Everybody can put more truth in the world and crush some of these lies. Even some people of the other nations. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it, because everybody can be a seeker of the truth. Speak truth, every single person, and crush some of these lies. Do I depend on anybody to do it? Absolutely not. But for you, the children of Israel, this is what the Most High has commanded of us. Can we read verse 17 as well, brother, just to get that one?
Zechariah chapter 8. I'll bring out 16 again. Zechariah chapter 8, verse 16. These are the things that ye shall do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor. And love no false oath. For all these things that I hate, saith the Lord.
For all these things that I hate, saith Yahawah. So again, we are not to imagine evil in our hearts against our neighbor and love no false oath. For all these are things that I hate, said the Most High. So again, us brothers wanted to give another Most High willing, edifying lesson, going into more devices of the enemies are from within and the enemies that are put out. Okay, or should I say the enemies from without? And the Most High willing, us brothers gave a lot of nuggets and information to go into addressing that. I always say this: the brothers got any scriptures, anything brothers want to put out, any verses, anything at all?
I don't have any. No, sir.
Okay, Con. Brother Jason, everything good?
Yeah, no, sir, not at this time.
Con. All praise to the Most High. I see Brother Zion in the chat. Shalom, Brother Amram. Shalom. Again, brothers just wanted to do a mighty lesson again, Most High willing, going into some of these tactics that they use to try to throw black culture on our people, to try to call good evil and evil good, to try to not really address any of their own atrocities, who oppressors slay us and then call themselves not guilty. Most High willing, these last two videos have done well at addressing those different issues. Most High willing, brothers are going to continue with videos like this. If you see anything on the, how do I want to say this? If anything comes up that you see that you want brothers to dive into and address, then you can put those in the chat as well. Most High willing, brothers to be able to get a chance to get to those. But that was just a very important topic that brothers didn't want to leave on the table. There's a whole lot of deception going on in these last days coming from all sides, and we wanted to make sure that our people are prepared for that. There's a lot of people that are coming with rhetoric, and we wanted to make sure that we equipped our young brothers and sisters with understanding the truth of these things, understanding who your real enemies are, and some of the devices that we can use to combat them. So again, Most High willing, this lesson was edifying. Us brothers are going to end the same way we begin, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah by Hashem Yahawah Shai. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.